create a $10 million a year bureaucracy to study privacy rules, and it would be voter established. So the only way you can shut down the bureaucracy is to put another voter initiative on the ballot. We already have a new a privacy law going into effect this year. Let's let that go into effect first before we add any new regulations. So Prop 24, a no. Prop 25 is one of the deceptively worded ballots. You vote yes to go no and no to go yes, okay? So on Prop 25, we urge a no vote because a no vote would reimpose cash bail in California. What the liberals want to do is they want to get rid of the need for bond or bail for criminals. They just want to release them on the honor system. Well, they know that those criminals, many of them won't come back on the honor system. So the second phase is they hire a bunch of government employees to go out and scoop them up. So not only does it coddle the criminal, but it creates a massive new bureaucracy paid for by taxpayers. The bail system has worked very well for many, 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 many years. Let's keep the bail system in place. And also, imagine if you're a spouse or a girlfriend who's the victim of domestic violence, and now there's no longer a bail program. It will be easier for your attacker to get out sooner and go after you. And so, again, the bond program, the bail program, it's worked well. Vote no on 25 if you want to keep the bond and bail program. Now, those are the statewide initiatives. The local initiatives in San Diego County, I'm just going to cover a couple of them that pertain to, I know where most of the folks in COGG live. So first is in the city of San Diego, a massive tax increase. It's Measure A. They say it's for affordable housing. It's not affordable. They want to borrow $900 million in bonds that will cost taxpayers $2.2 billion to repay. Yeah, $900 million, and then it costs $2.2 billion to repay. I haven't seen something this scandalous since the Poway school bonds a few years ago. Also, it's a 48-year property tax, 48 years. It would cause an increase in your property tax in the Rancho Bernardo area of about $800 in the first 5 years alone. Increased tax burden for each of you. So we're saying no on Measure A, and that's in the city of San Diego. Also, it's part of the effort by city politicians to force government subsidized housing projects into neighborhoods that don't want them. And we believe that local control needs to be respected, local decision-making and input, rather than these bonded programs for government subsidized housing that really doesn't reflect the caliber of our neighborhoods. Measure B is a police reform measure. It's a good one. The police are neutral on it. I support it. It would establish an independent commission to review any sort of police use of force or misconduct allegations. Right now, the current police review board does not have staff, and it's not allowed to subpoena. It's not allowed to investigate. And I think we really do need to see an independent set of eyes on these issues. So yes on Measure B. Some of the other elements locally, we've got, that's pretty much it locally. The rest of the measures pretty much are outside of our area. So those are the local measures. Let me talk a little bit about candidate races. In this election, it's going to be rough. And this is why I ran for Congress, is that I was so sick and tired of seeing the California Republican Party basically try to organize their retreat. Democrats aren't retreating, they're fighting. They're really organized and aggressive and well managed, and they're everywhere. I'm so sick and tired of the same failed consultants, the same failed insiders running the Republican Party of California. Our San Diego party does as much as it can, but without the resources and without the infrastructure, it's hard for candidates to run and win. We got a great candidate running for state assembly, for example, June Cutter, Asian business owner, a mom, very active in her school. And she's running against turncoat Brian Mainshine.
Can you hang on just a second?
Hold on a second. I think someone's not muted, so please check to make sure you're muted. Thank you.
Excuse me, Carl. I'm gonna ask Blair to please mute himself. So go ahead.
Okay, so June is a great candidate, but she's not really getting the support that she needs from the Republican Party because they don't have the ability to support her. That's how bad it is. And Brian Mainshine has been a turncoat. He lied to all of us, and now his voting record is appalling. It always was suspicious. Now it's openly appalling. So that's a disappointment, and we need to try to help June as much as possible in District 77, which represents Poway and Rancho Bernardo. In District 5, Joe Leventhal is a great guy that will be a solid voice on city council. And District 5 is going to be a close election this year. And so we need to make sure we get the word out in Rancho Bernardo, Scripps Ranch, and Rancho Penasquitos to get people behind Joe Leventhal for the city council. We may get down to only one Republican on the city council after this election. And then even then, I think we're going to lose that seat in the next cycle and have no voice on the city council. That's how bad things have become in the city of San Diego. Because frankly, we haven't had a proactive center-right agenda in San Diego City. So the Democrats are the ones that are leading and organizing on every single issue, unfortunately. So State Assembly, City Council, Congress, Jim DeBello is a really nice guy. He's running for the 52nd Congressional District. It's going to be rough against Scott Peters because Scott Peters has so much more money, and Jim has not been selected as one of the target seats in our area. So he will be on the ballot in Poway and in Rancho Bernardo. The last polling in the 50th Congressional District comes as no surprise to me, but Darrell Issa right now is in a very close race, and he may lose the 50th Congressional District. And so I've urged people to do whatever they can to support Darrell Issa because even though he ran against me in the primary, we got to get behind him to win in the general election. His campaign, frankly, is very uninspired, and he's had some problems on issues, but he's infinitely better than the Democrat running against him. And so I urge people to try to do whatever you can to spread the word to anyone living in East County and North County. Escondido, for example, is in the 50th Congressional District. So get the word out behind Darrell Issa. County Board of Supervisors, District 2. I like Steve Voss. He's a nice guy. I also have worked with Joel Anderson. I just feel as though in my endorsement for Joel Anderson that Joel will have a lot more fight in the belly, a lot more fire in the belly to stand up to people like Nathan Fletcher. And as you know, Nathan's just like Brian Mainshine. He stabbed us in the back. He betrayed us. He went from being someone who said he was conservative or moderate on some issues to being far, far, far left field. And you see what's going on right now with his handling of COVID and going after churches and whatnot. So I think Joel Anderson has the fire to stand up to someone like Nathan Fletcher. I think Steve is just kind of nice. He's kind of the insider downtown guy. And so again, I like Steve, and he's infinitely better than, Nathan Fletcher, obviously, but I've endorsed Joel because I think he's going to put up more of a fight in that district. Kristen Gaspar, absolutely a critical race for the county board. We cannot lose this seat because if Kristen is a lost seat, we will lose the majority on the County Board of Supervisors, and then all hell is going to break loose. You think City of San Diego is crazy. It'll all come to the County of San Diego, and we will not recognize this county after all is said and done if that happens. So Kristen Gaspar in District 3, that would be Rancho Bernardo and Escondido. Only one judge on the ballot in San Diego County. The conservative choice is Paul Starita. Great guy. And so he's countywide in this election. The only judge race that's left to be decided is Paul Starita, office number 30. With that, let me open it up to any questions anyone might have. I'm happy to answer them, but what you need to do is you need to turn on your video and you need to raise your hand like this, and I will call on you. Because I believe I'm a co-host. Nancy, let's see if I can get Nancy to unmute. Did I get made a co-host? Who's the co-host right now? If you can make Nancy unmuted.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Nancy.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Carol, could you please repeat what Prop 14 was? We're voting no on that. What was that proposition?
It's a bond, $5.5 billion bond. It's going to cost taxpayers about $8 billion to repay. And it gives a bunch of free government money to stem cell research, even though we already voted just 4 cycles ago to give them billions of dollars, and we still haven't seen a return on that investment. The stem cell research funding has been criticized by auditors for being wasteful, a good old boys network. And so we're urging a no vote on that bond because they're just coming back more for another blank check.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else to raise your hand? Just turn on your video and just raise your hand like this. Wen Chen, Pasadena, go ahead.
Yes, I want to comment on Joe Anderson. I really appreciate his work. In 2017, he started a resolution in the California Senate condemning the forced organ harvesting towards Falun Gong. That's a meditation group persecuted by the Chinese Communist Party. And the Chinese consulate in San Francisco called the Senate President Kevin DeLeon to block that resolution. And DeLeon blocked that resolution. That was a huge issue in 2017.
All right, thank you.
But I really believe that Joe Anderson is the one who really seriously fight for people.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for weighing in on that. Hi, Janice, go ahead.
I'm wondering if you can comment on what happened to the race for the mayor. I know right after we voted, Scott Sherman was in there, and then later I saw that he wasn't. I know Ruth Weiss is going to talk. Was this ballot harvesting or what happened?
So go ahead and turn off your mic. There we are. So in this race, your choice is a slow, painful death or being shot and hung and tortured as you're dying. I don't know which one of those is better or worse. Barbara Bree and Todd Gloria are both Democrats, and the issues. Oh, she's a Democrat. You're not going to feel excited to vote for either one of them. Todd Gloria is the worst of the bunch, guaranteed. Barbara at least is open on issues like AB5. She opposes AB5. Barbara has been an independent voice on making sure that we open up city contracts to transparency. She's the one that has been raising big concerns about the sweetheart deal that Todd Gloria gave one of his developer campaign contributors with this big new city hall building project that they had downtown on 101 Ash Street. And so I'll probably not make an endorsement in the mayor's race, but Barbara has never refused to come on the radio show. Barbara has never refused to dialogue or talk about issues, even when we disagree. And we have found some issues like AB5 that has destroyed so many jobs where she's been very common sense. So as it relates to why we lost the runoff, this is, I think, an example of just how poor things are in the city of San Diego. I don't talk to many Republicans in the city of San Diego who are very happy with Kevin Faulconer's approach to handling issues. They find him to be wimpy, milquetoast, vanilla, and get along with the Democrat agenda. So it's kind of hard to get Republicans in San Diego City to be excited or even paying attention. And I think that with Scott, he got off to a late start. He didn't get into the race until, I believe, the fall. Actually, he got in, I think, after Thanksgiving. So it didn't give him a great shot to get his campaign in order. And we were really disappointed that he did fall out of the runoff. That being said, the issues of our voting system are literally one of the biggest concerns we should have, besides candidate recruitment and working hard, is making sure that only legal votes are cast and all legal votes are counted. I want to go to a driver's ID, license ID for voting, but it's going to take us time to get there, particularly in California. But the first thing we should do is demand that duplicate and triplicate ballots be eliminated from the voter rolls. Right now, people do get 2 or 3 ballots each in some households, particularly if they were recently at the Department of Motor Vehicles to get a new driver's license. So triplicate and duplicate ballots are being found everywhere. We also see inactive voters that have not been properly removed from the system. And now those voters will get a ballot. All voters will get ballots in California in this election, even if you're ordinarily a poll voter. And so all these mail-in ballots will be floating around at households, in mailboxes. And we, on my radio show, we had a bunch of people call in who are having ballots mailed to their household from someone who used to live there 5 years ago, 10 years ago. And it's, again, it's fraught for people filling in ballots and sending them in. A gentleman in Los Angeles just 2 weeks ago was arrested and charged with 3 counts of voting for his dead mother. His mother died in 2006, for goodness sakes. So you see all this stuff happening, and these ballots are going to be floating around. And then on top of that, you add in ballot harvesting. And the Democrats are going out, knocking on doors, asking for ballots. And we don't know what they're doing with those ballots. We don't know if they're filling them out. I will also say that while they say that they check signatures on the ballots, they don't really check very closely. We've been there when they've accepted all sorts of signatures that are not even materially similar to what's on the voter card. So we've got a crisis in California when it comes to the integrity of our elections. And we've got to be focusing on that through lawsuits, as well as a wholesale audit of all the voter rolls, county by county, throughout California. Hey, Phil, go ahead.
Hey, good to see you, Carl.
Good seeing
Hey,
you.
I know you just had mentioned, and I appreciate the background about Todd and Barbara, but is there a possibility to convince you to endorse Barbara? Because my biggest concern is that what's going to happen is a lot of Republicans, and I think all of us know Scott pretty well too, that we don't have a Republican for mayor, but now they just kind of say, I'm not going to worry about it. That's not going to make a difference, where I think it is going to make a significant difference. Is there a way to convince you to maybe say, yes, Barbara is lesser of 2 evils, and at least endorse her? Because I don't want Todd to be the mayor, because I don't want Lorena and Nathan to have a voice straight to him telling him what to do all the time.
I know, and it's kind of hard to look at that. My problem has always been, when you endorse a Democrat in a Democrat-on-Democrat race, sometimes when they win, they again become a creature. They're not as moderate as they said that they would be. So once burned, twice shy. But I think that you'll find that voters will probably look at the candidates, and they will find their way to see that Barbara's positions on several issues are stronger in so many aspects. Even her career as a businesswoman, an entrepreneur who broke ground and helped other women succeed in the business world, it's very compelling. Versus Todd Gloria, he's never signed the front of a paycheck. He's always been a government employee. And so that's where I think you're going to find people gravitate towards these candidates in these Democrat races. Plus, remember, Barbara has to keep Democrat support. Barbara needs to keep Democrat support. And so Todd Gloria is already going to be out there lying about Barbara. You know, she's a Trump Republican. Oh, whatever. Dog whistle, dog whistle. So again, I think people will gravitate towards the candidate that's stronger in this race. Anyone else want to raise their hand? Carolyn, is that you? Go ahead.
Thanks, Carl. This has been great. I I just want to say how important it is to go to the polls. And I was up in San Francisco taking care of my mother, and I had a favorite morning talk show, Lee Rogers. I'll never forget, after an election, about 6 months after an election, 4 bags of ballots were found in the Bay from conservative areas. That's why I have always, well, I love going to the polls. It makes me feel extremely patriotic, and it's so important. And I do want to say, I know you're not finished, but I do want to say, I want to ask everybody to support our candidates with donations, because they need money. And that's what the Democrats have. It's extremely important that we take California back. When I was raised, California was conservative and Christian. Those days are gone. When I moved here 34 years ago, we were 98% conservative. Now we're 48. We've got to change. So that's my soapbox. Thank you.
And you're absolutely right. I find that Californians are more conservative than the media or the political landscape reflects. And the reason why is that when you don't provide people with leadership, they don't feel like anyone else is like them, and they either leave the state or they stay quiet. And so I am so sick and tired of the California establishment elected officials going up to Sacramento and behaving like potted plants. And, you know, think about this. There's a reason why Nathan Fletcher and Brian Mainshine left the Republican Party, because they don't have any principles. They're only about power. We've seen them look us in our face and take very strong positions and then turn around and be completely opposite on every issue. But here's the thing. If you were a Republican in California and you saw that that's what you had leading you, is a bunch of people who lie and run away and switch over and don't fight. I mean, some of these Republicans, you don't even know their name, but guess what? You know Todd Gloria's name, don't you? You know Lorena Gonzalez's name, don't you? You know Nathan Fletcher, don't you? You know Nathan Fletcher more today than you knew him when he was a Republican. The point I'm making is that Democrats in California actually are out there leading. They're scary as hell. Their ideas are terrible, but they're actually leading. Can you name for me a Republican in California that's taking the bone in his mouth or her mouth and running? You're not seeing that. And so of the few Republicans we have left, we need to expect that they're going to lead and make some noise. No more organized or disorganized retreats. It's time to lead in this state, and people will follow. People are hungry for an alternative. All they've heard is one side. Now, do you see any Democrats crossing over and voting with Republicans or going from the Democrat Party to the Republican Party in California? No, because Democrats actually don't have that problem. They don't have the problem we have in California. They don't have a Kevin Faulconer. They don't have a Brian Mainshine. They don't have a Nathan Fletcher, because they expect uniformity and loyalty, and they expect teamwork on their side, and they get it. They get it. When you elect a Democrat in California, guess what? You're going to get a Democrat. You're going to get someone who's going to scare the hell out of you. But sometimes most of the time when we elect a Republican, do we really get a Republican? Probably not. So as much as I'd like to blame the Democrats for problems in California, I think we have to assign at least a good amount of blame over on the Republican side as well. We've got to kick our own team in the rear end and get them out to practice a bit more before we can win a game. All right, I've got to get ready for show prep. I will turn it back over to Carolyn. Yes?
As always, you've been wonderful. We
Thank
love
you for having me.
We certainly do support everything, all the work that you do. And I want everybody to support Reform California. Whenever Carl asks for help, send help. Voice
so much.
or monetary, it's really, really important.
By the way, I have free lawn signs for everyone in COGG. Just go on the website, reformcalifornia.org, click under Prop 19. There's a button there for Prop 19. Sorry, Prop 15. Sorry, no on 15. And there's a free lawn sign. Just put your information in. We'll add you to the list. Our volunteers will be delivering them in the next week and a half.
Okay, thank
Thank
you.
you.
I had some signs in my yard, one's for Trump and one's for Joe Leventhal. And they told me that I had to take them out because they're not allowed here. And I just turned them around, and my gardener came and turned them back around. So anyway, okay. Our next speaker is Ruth Weiss. She's Vice President of the Election Integrity Project of California. Ruth warns of the potential risks to the integrity of our elections posed by mail voting due mainly to the excessive amount of handling that the ballots are exposed to, loose regulations regarding ballots collecting, ballot harvesting. This is all stuff that Carl was just talking about, and duplicate mailings, among other issues. I hope you all got your election integrity mailouts that we emailed to you. If not, please let me know so I can send to you. Well, thanks for coming, Ruth.
Thank you, Carolyn, and hi to everybody. I appreciate being here. I know we had some glitches this morning, and I'm not going to be able to share my screen. I had some PowerPoint slides to kind of guide you along to be able to see at the same time you're hearing. So you're just going to have to listen a little bit more carefully here as I go along. There's a lot I would love to share with you about what we are doing, holding officials accountable, some of the lawsuits we have going on. But today, what I really want to focus on are the nuts and bolts that you need to know for the November 2020 election. There are all kinds of misconceptions out there. There are there's confusion. And those of you who may have read the handout that Carolyn just referenced that she mailed out to you, I'm going to go over a little bit of that stuff today because a lot of people probably just set it aside and didn't really read it. Things are very different in this election, and I want to make sure that San Diegans know what they can do and what they should do for this election. So we had a bill, yeah. Yes, Don.
Yeah, I think you may be able to share. You might, if you want to give it a try, if it's possible.
Let me try. Oh my goodness, you got it going. Good for you. Okay. So let's see here. Well, super. Then that's where we're going to start, right here. Okay. AB 860 is laying the blueprint for the California elections. The governor's executive order was thrown out of court, didn't matter. However, the same thing the governor's executive order said is also what AB 860 says. So legislate now, we have a decision about November 2020. This law doesn't change anything. It only says only for this election, this is what we're going to do because it's a COVID response thing. So don't think there's going to be a big change forever. It's just 2020. The first thing that law says is that, as Carl told you, every registered voter is going to be mailed a vote by mail ballot. Whether you're like me and you vote in the polls and you never received a vote by mail ballot, or you've always had a vote by mail ballot, better. Nobody has to go in and change their registration. Nobody has to change their requests. In fact, unless you have an address change or something essential, don't mess around with your registration right now because they're already inundated and you'll just mess things up. You will get mailed a ballot, period, the end. If that concerns you, you're extremely wise for some of the reasons that Carl just covered. I want to make sure everyone understands this difference. Please understand it because nobody does. The difference between an absentee ballot and a vote by mail ballot. They look the same, you fill them out the same, you mail them in the same, but they are not this. California has not had an absentee ballot since 1998. A lot of you think that's what you get every year. There is no such thing in California anymore. And here's why. An absentee ballot is a ballot that you apply for and that you qualify for based on the requirements that the state sets up to say people can vote with absentee ballot if, and then they give a list. Like you can prove you're going to be out of town, or you are permanently disabled, or you have to work 24 hours that day, or you are having back surgery, or whatever it is, that those people will qualify for an absentee ballot. But California in 1998 went away from that and said, no, we want no excuse, permanent vote by mail. The difference there is that as people in California on the voter rolls move, become incompetent, or move on to their next life, they stay on the voter rolls. And so if you are a permanent vote by mail individual, long after you are long gone, you will continue to have ballots mailed to you because nothing ever changes. As Carl said, we do a terrible job of cleaning our voter rolls. It's almost impossible to move somebody off that list. And if you have people voting absentee, they have to apply every election. That way you know when you've mailed them a ballot, they still exist where they say they live, as opposed to vote by mail, which just goes out year after year after year like a machine, not taking into account that all of these people aren't where they were when they first applied. That's why the absentee ballot is essential to protect people's right to vote, and the vote by mail ballot is one of the largest destroyers of election integrity. I hope you understand that difference. I hope that you can turn your thinking a little bit. I don't want to ruffle feathers because we've all been misinformed all this time, and we've been duped into voting by mail because it's easier, it's more convenient, it's all these things, but it is death to election integrity. If you are choosing to use your vote by mail ballot or to be on that vote by mail ballot list and you have another choice, understand that you are part of what is facilitating a lot of voter fraud in the state of California. The first thing is the unmaintained rules. I talked about that, Carl talked about. The second thing is that there have been 2 presidential commissions, and EIPCA has been talking about this since we started 10 years ago, in 2001 and another one in 2005, that did detailed research into vote by mail ballots and their impact on election integrity. And the 2005 commission stated it this way. They both came to the same conclusion, that mail-in ballots remain the largest source of potential voter fraud. That's only become worse since 2005, not better. Not better. They also concluded that vote by mail ballots, VBMs, do not fulfill 5 key elements of honest elections. If you want fair and honest elections, you keep your voting by mail limited to the few people who need to do it through an absentee ballot, and you don't offer VBMs to every Tom, Dick, and Harry because you've convinced them that it's easier and more convenient. So as we begin to understand that and we take ourselves off the vote by mail list, the better this is going to be in the long run. Now this year, you will get that ballot. What do you do with it? Well, this one really has blown our minds in the last couple of weeks. There's a Democrat operative who has come out for some reason after 30 plus years of manipulating elections all over the United States with a large team of people working with him, and now he's decided to blow the whistle. And he's revealed how he has fixed elections all over the place using vote by mail ballots for over 30 years. For those of you that have not seen this report, here is how it happened in his case. All of the people working with him and for him receive their ballots. They take their ballot, blank ballot, out of its envelope, and instead of filling it out first, they duplicate this blank ballot. It's not like forging money. It's very easy to do. You just send it through a machine. Now you've got any number of blank ballots. Well, how do you get them turned in? Well, after you fill them out for the candidates and the propositions that you want to manipulate into the winner's column, you then have a mole in the Postal Service, the registrar's office. But Postal Service is really good. And it's easy to do because during the time we have an increased volume of mail, they bring in temporary people who aren't well vetted as your normal postal people. And it's very easy to get a mole into the system. And that person looks for ballots that voters have filled out, signed, tucked in their ID in the states that require ID. sealed, and put back in the mail to go to be counted. And while en route from the voter back to the counting facility, they intercept those ballots temporarily. They say, oh, this person or this community or this zip code, we know that they're not have a favorable vote within there. So we're going to just detour those ballots for a couple of hours. Then they take those and they steam open the envelope. They take out the real ballot and they put the phony ballot inside. They reseal the envelope, which is the voter's real signature and still has the voter's ID inside for steps that require that. Reintroduce it into the mail. It arrives to be counted. Nobody has any idea a vote has been stolen. And he did this thousands of votes at a time to steal elections over the course of 30 plus years. He's not the only one. He's the only one that's finally speaking out. And this is one of lots of ways that your vote by mail ballot can be manipulated and you will never know. So again, that's why we say the concern is real. Secondly, the new law says that you are not limited to using that ballot, that you do have the right still to vote in person. So what I hope you walk away with today is a little bit better understanding why we ask you to be a VIP. We ask you to be a voter in person. If you're doing that, you've eliminated all the possibility of your ballot being manipulated on the way to you, on the way away from you, during the whole time it's being processed at the registrar's office. All those times where your ballot winds up to be different than what you turned in go away when you vote in person. So how do you do that in San Diego County for this election? This is not your normal election. We will have neighborhood polling places like we normally do. And 8 precincts will be combined into one super consolidated polling place. And you will assign, based on your precinct, to one of these super consolidated polling places. They're going to be open for 4 days. You have to wait till election day, and I would recommend that you not wait till election day because they'll be less crowded if you go the first 3 days. The first 3 days are open business hours 8 to 5, and on election day from 7 to 8 as normal election day. If you go to your assigned super consolidated polling place, they will have your paper ballot that matches your precinct, and they will issue that to you. You will surrender your vote by mail ballot and say, I don't want to use this. They will make sure that the ballot gets destroyed. In fact, technically, I don't even think they're going to be asked to take it because they don't need to, and we'll get into that later. But make sure that your ballot is destroyed, that it's written all over, that it's torn in half so nobody can use your vote by mail ballot against you. And then you will be given your own paper ballot, mark it, you'll put it in a secure box, which not be opened again until they're ready to count the ballot. If you go to one of the other super consolidated polling places, you can still vote in person, but they will not be in possession of your precinct's paper ballot. So you will have to vote on the machine, which now we have a brand new system in San Diego. It's called a ballot marking device, BMD. You can, and that machine can call up any ballot in the county. Just know that if you don't want to use technology to vote, you'll have to go to your own polling place to vote. The only people who cannot do this are the people who reside in districts that are assigned or designated vote by mail districts. And there are a few of those. Those are the precincts that have fewer than 250 registered voters, and they will still have to use their vote by mail ballot. Everybody else in the county, regardless of how you normally vote, can take that vote by mail ballot in. You can surrender it to your super consolidated polling place, and you can vote in person on Halloween or on the 3 days after Halloween up to and including election day. If you are one of the people who must use your vote by mail ballot or not convinced you yet and you're still going to use it, then please at least be careful. Don't put it in the US mail. I think the story I just told you tells you one of the reasons why. Number 2, don't give it to an unknown harvester. Even if you think, well, you know, they're decent people and they're going to do the right thing. It's much better if you can't turn it in yourself, that you give it to a family member that you trust or a dear friend that you trust to turn in for you. And do turn it in safely. One of those safe ways is a staffed drop box. In San Diego County, there are drop boxes all over the county in conveniently located places in every community, and you'll have that list of where those are when you get your ballot. They're safe. They're open for this election. They're not just open the 7 days. They are open all 29 days. So they open October 5th. Anytime from October 5th on, you can put your ballot in one of the staffed drop boxes. They are emptied on a daily basis, and your ballot will arrive safely without going through Postal Service and other unknown hands to get there. That's one of the safe ways to turn your ballot in if you don't want to drive it down to the registrar's office. And I do recommend that in this county. And then it's really important that every single one of us goes to sdvote.com. That's the website of our Registrar of Voters, SD for San Diego, sdvote.com. And look for the little icon you see there that says, "Where's my ballot?" Click on it and sign up for ballot tracks. This is essential. It's a new program, and it keeps you from losing your ballot. You can then tell them how you want your notifications, by text, by email, by phone call. That's yours. But just like when you order from a catalog or Amazon's going to deliver something to you, you get emails or text messages saying, your package is in the mail. Your package is due to arrive on X date. Your package has just been put in your mailbox or on your porch. You get those instantaneous messages. You don't have to go and look for them. They come to you saying, this is where your ballot is right here, right now. That will keep you from getting stolen before it ever gets to you. Because when you get that message that says your ballot's in your mailbox and you go to your mailbox and your ballot's not there, you instantly know someone has snaked it. When you call the registrar, you tell them what happened. They will cancel your, nobody else can use it. They'll send you a new one if that's what you're choosing to do. It's very important to track the ballot so nobody steals it before it gets to you. Everybody needs to go to sdvote.com and click on Where's My Ballot and sign up for that. It'll take you about 30 seconds. Also, you need to know what to do if you don't get a ballot, if you get two ballots, if you get somebody else's. And one of the handouts that I think was mailed to you, emailed to you, organization that I provided, give questions, look at that, and be able to spread that information to other people. And please follow the advice on that sheet of paper so that these ballots get where they're supposed to go and that we get the documentation of the chaos that's going on. And then we ask finally for you to sign up to be part of our citizen oversight. Look, this makes a difference. It makes a huge difference. The best story we can tell is the difference it's made in San Diego County in the 10 years that we've been doing what we're doing. It's absolutely amazing, the difference, and I could spend a whole presentation on that. But for now, just trust me that I've been doing it for 10 years and I know it helps. It doesn't completely solve all the problems, but it makes it so much better. We can't just entrust our ballots and everything to the bureaucracy and say, okay, now you've got my ballot, do what you want to with it, because bureaucracies always fail. You have to have citizen oversight. It's your system and it's your vote. We do need people watching these polling locations for the 4 days that they are open. It'll be just like our normal observation program, but we also need to focus on the ballot processing. Just like food, the more processing that happens in the food, the less healthy it is for you when you eat it. The more processing that happens with ballots, the less integrity the election has by the time it's all over. So when that processing has taken place, we need to be watching, because we can object, we can challenge, and just our very presence make sure that the people doing their job don't get complacent and casual and make mistakes because they're bored. And it's very, very important to understand that about human nature. We will train you. In fact, our email telling you about this training and how to RSVP to it goes out probably as we speak, it's probably in your box right now, or it will be by a little bit later this afternoon. We will support you by training you on how to do this. Our training is by Zoom, just exact this meeting, live Zoom, so you can stay at home and be comfortable. You don't have to wear pants if you don't want to, and get trained via Zoom. This training for ballot processing is less than an hour and a half, and then you'll know what you're doing, what you're looking for, what to do when you see it. We will also train candidate teams. We can't go to them, but any candidate or
Hello? Hello? Ruth?
I can hear you, Ruth. We can hear you, but you're frozen.
Not sure what's going on, Ruth. Let me see what's going on.
I would like, this is Jane, and I would like to say that I was recently instructed that on the back of your mail-in envelope, that they can tell whether you're a Democrat or a Republican because it has either an R or a D in all of those letters on the back of your mail-in envelope. And I was wondering if everybody else knew about that.
I don't know if Ruth can be heard.
Okay, did you hear
I don't
me?
even know if she can. I can hear you. Yes, we can hear you, Jane.
Okay, well, does anybody else have been aware of the fact that your envelope will have a Democrat or Republican on the outside, whether they say they can't tell or not?
I know that that's going on. I haven't talked to anybody. I haven't gotten anything in the mail.
Well, they said on the back of the envelope that you mail in, that within all those numbers and everything, that there is either a D on it or an R on it. So that if somebody receives those in the mail and it's the party they don't want, they can get rid of that vote with it never having it opened.
Well, I think we've lost Ruth, so do you want to try to get her back, Dawn?
I don't see her in the participants anymore. Looks like for some reason she got dropped off.
I'm gonna email her.
See if she can try and get back in. And let's see, do I have a phone number?
I just sent her an email, so. But what I want to say is when my mother died, I immediately went to the registrar with her death certificate because a lot of people, most people don't know that. They lose somebody, but they don't know to go in to the county registrar and show the death certificate because you don't want somebody else using that person's, the deceased name.
Carolyn, this is Dave. May I suggest we're over time already, that you get one of the other speakers to start, and
Okay.
if Ruth comes back, she can.
Okay,
Yeah.
I just want to say Ruth is a true hero. I don't know where she gets all the energy. She has been doing this for years without any pay, full time. Our next guest is hopefully the next 77th State Assembly District Representative June Yang Cutter. There she is. There she is, June. Hi.
I'm on now, Kristen. Hi. I'm also helping my 8-year-old with homework.
Oh, we're so glad to have you here, and we want to know how you're doing. June is running against defect. There's somebody's talking in the background, Dawn.
Show up. Oh, here you are.
Excuse me, Dawn. Dawn, please you put yourself on mute. I am so sorry. June is running against Brian Mainshine, who defected from the Republican Party. He has refused to debate her here And I've made many requests, and his chief of staff even gave me his personal email. So he's refused. He's a coward, and he will not stand up and be counted and debate. He probably doesn't know how. But an accomplished attorney and small business owner, June lives in Del Sur with her husband, Ryan, who is a former naval flight officer, and their 2 children. As PTA president at her children's school for 2 years, she strongly believes that a great education is the key to opportunity. To her, this means making sure education dollars are spent in the classroom and empowering parents to hold schools accountable for results. June is also a member of COGG. And we thank you so much for coming, June.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to your group again. I think it's been a while since we all met in person, and I was able to see all of you in person and give you hugs, but I'll give you all a virtual hug and a handshake. It has been 19 months since I started my campaign, and it has been a wild and crazy journey for sure. And I am so grateful for the support of the Republican Party. I'm excited to say that I have the endorsement of the county party, the state party, and the national party as well. The national party doesn't necessarily play in all state races, especially not here in California, but I did make their first round of endorsements through the Republican State Leadership Committee, which is kind of like the NRCC for state level races. I have received tremendous support at all levels of the Republican Party, and for that, I am so grateful. We have raised almost $500,000 to date, which is kind of incredible for a state assembly race. The state assembly is what I like to say is the forgotten stepchild of politics. Nobody really pays attention to what's going on in the state capitol. And I think that 2020 has been a huge wake-up call for all of us who haven't been paying that much attention to Sacramento. And we find ourselves in a position now where we look at all of the mismanagement of this global pandemic here in our state. And we wonder, how did we put so much power into the hands of one man, Gavin Newsom? And where are our voices as voters in the state of California being heard? Unfortunately, we have not just a super majority, but a mega majority up in Sacramento of Democrat legislators who have gladly handed power to Governor Newsom on a silver platter and abdicated their responsibility to stand up for us and represent us and our interests. I think that is a terrible shame, and I'm really excited to be part of the change to do something about it. I believe that my race is important for many reasons. First, our assemblyman was voted in as a Republican and switched parties mere weeks later, as you all know, making it perfectly clear to me that he cared more about being an elected official than being our voice. So that's one of the main reasons why I'm running, is because I believe our community deserves to be represented by someone who listens to us and represents our interests at the state capitol. Another reason why it's important is because this is just one piece of the great California Republican comeback. I not only want to win my seat, I want to help Republicans throughout the state gain more seats in the state legislature. I don't know how many of you are signed up for my weekly emails, but I recently sent one out about my grand plan to help break the supermajority within 2 election cycles. And I think that in order to do that, we really need to win District 77 back for the Republican Party this year. And that will start the domino effect that we need to break the supermajority and make it so that Democrats can't just pass through every piece of legislation that they want. If you've been watching Sacramento this year, there have been some crazy things happening up there, and there are many laws that have been passed that are quite shocking, especially to those of us who lean conservative. Affirmative action is back on the ballot. Actually, I should say race and gender-based affirmative action are back on the ballot. The UC schools have continued to implement affirmative action based on socioeconomic reasons, which is fine, but race and gender, which were banned by Proposition 209, are now back on the ballot with Proposition 16. And that is a huge problem for our community here in District 77. So I have been a vocal opponent of that proposition. And I've also been vocally speaking out about reopening our businesses safely, getting our economy picked up and back on track, about our schools opening and our churches opening and other places of worship as well. I think that as a mom, I have personally seen the impact of COVID-19 on my kids who are in 3rd and 6th grade. And so I have been working very closely with teachers and parents and administrators to make sure that our schools can get open and our kids can get back to normal safely and quickly as possible. But my eye is on the prize, 56 days until Election Day, and we are in need of people who will volunteer and make calls for us. We are not knocking on doors, we are virtual canvassing. And I think as a state level race, we have seen other assembly candidates up north knocking on doors and unfortunately having to then go back and say that they tested COVID positive. And we are trying to avoid that situation in our particular race where the state party has agreed it is a more efficient use of our time to call voters. We've also realized recently that a lot of moderate and no party preference voters do not seem to mind that Brian Mainshine switched parties. To them, it isn't that big of a deal, and it makes them think that he might be the more tolerable moderate candidate. And so we are definitely going to switch that messaging up on them and let them know that Brian Mainshine didn't just switch parties and stay the same guy that they always thought he was. He is now one of the most reliably liberal votes in Sacramento. He is a puppet of Lorena Gonzalez, and he votes to the left of 13 other liberal Democrats in the assembly. So that will be our messaging. And on the flip side, we're letting everyone in District 77 know that I am the every mom in the trenches with the community. I understand where the community's concerns are. I am a willing listener, open ear, and I want to make sure that all of our voices are heard and have a place at the table in Sacramento. So I also wanted to let you all know that we need volunteers to call, and also that following up on what Ruth was talking about, I have been on the board of a group called the California Women's Leadership Association for several years now. And while I'm taking a less active role on that board as I run for office, I am so excited to let you know that they will be launching their own pilot program for the collection of ballots, or ballot harvesting as it's commonly known, geared towards center-right voters, with the pilot program being launched here in District 77. So I'll make sure to contact Ruth and let her know separately that this group is doing this. But if you want your ballot picked up, I will give Carolyn the information for the website where you can sign up for that. It is approved by the California Republican Party, and it is a very well-established group because, as you know, conservatives want to know that their ballot is going to the right place, and conservatives are 3 times less likely to hand over their ballot to a harvester. So we have looked into all of that, and I'm really excited to let you all know about CWLA's program, which is going to be launched tomorrow. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. I am looking forward to being a champion for you and for conservative voices in Sacramento, and I believe that we can turn California around. So thanks so much.
Any questions? June has covered so much. This has just been great, June. So please, y'all, ask questions. Rosemary, do you have a question?
Where do you have your yard signs to pick up?
Yes, we will deliver yard signs to you if you'd like, and you can go on my website at junecutter.com. If you click on the volunteer button, there's actually a yard sign option so that you can request one, and our team members will deliver it to your house. And if you want to pick one up, you can just email info@junecutter.com and we will let you know where they're at.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so hey, Carolyn, Ruth Weiss
Dave?
is back. You want to let her say goodbye?
Oh, Dawn, excuse me, but Dave Piontek has a question.
Okay.
I just had a quick one for June. Hi, June. Thanks for being here. My question was, you mentioned getting your emails. Is that on your website as well, where you can sign up for them?
Yes, there is a sign up link right at the top of the website. So please sign up. I think we have some really good content, and we will actually be asking you for your thoughts in the coming weeks, because I think my job is to represent you, not just do what I want to do.
Okay. Oh, Ruth, you're back.
Yeah.
You and June together. Okay, great. June, I think that's all. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Doing a great job, and we really, really want you to win.
Yes, and we also want Brian to lose. So
We
that
also
is
want
the
Brian to
driving
lose
factor.
big time. Dave,
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Wait, Dave, do you have another question? Maybe
I
not.
was just reacting to June.
Oh,
giving me a
oh,
thumbs
that
up.
was a thumb up. Yeah, I got it. Okay, well, we'll see you soon, June. Thank you. And Ruth, did you have some more to say?
You know, I was done except to ask you to be sure that you go to our website and sign up to receive our alerts so that you don't miss anything else that's going on. And then that was it. Just please realize that citizen involvement makes the difference. And we definitely need you in this election and every other election to do more than just vote. We need you to vote and then get out and protect that vote for yourself and everybody else. So I want to thank you for having me.
And it's so important, everything Ruth has said. And this meeting is being taped, so you can go into our website and watch it. And the painting behind Ruth is the Declaration of Independence that was in her father's office. And I just love it. It's beautiful. Thank you. Thanks, Ruth.
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
Just add on, the handout that Ruth mentioned is actually posted. I got a notice from Christian this morning, our web manager. It's posted on our website. If you click on the front banner that announces this event, the link is there. So everybody can download that handout from there if you didn't get it in an email already.
Okay, thanks, Dave. Thanks, Ruth. See you soon.
Okay.
And our next candidate for the 5th District City Council is Joe Leventhal. He has been just all over the place. I see him everywhere, and he's going to be a great representative on our city council. He's a lawyer, a business owner, and UC San Diego alumnus. He's a resident of San Diego for almost 20 years. beautiful family. Joe has run the San Diego office of a highly respected law firm of 650. He's on the board of directors. He serves on the finance committee, helping manage the operations of the $270 million business. After law school, Joe served as an attorney in the White House as deputy assistant to Vice President Dick Cheney. As part of the vice president's senior staff, Joe was then the youngest deputy assistant to the vice president at the age of only 25. Also a member of COGG. Thanks, Joe, so much for coming.
Thanks, Carolyn. I appreciate the introduction. And one of the most humbling things about being a candidate is when I attend meetings like this in the company of other stellar individuals, obviously all of you who are so engaged. Carl DeMaio earlier, I appreciated his endorsement and his mention of my race as an important race. June Cutter, she and I have become really good friends as first-time candidates. And actually our daughters are now in school together. And so they're becoming friends, which is neat. And being the children of candidates is a unique experience. But you know, I've had a great career so far and decided to run for office mostly because of my 3 kids who are mostly on Zooms for their school right now. So if my internet's unstable or I freeze at some point, I apologize. But we're taxing our Wi-Fi here at the house. But you know, I'm really unhappy with the direction our region's going. And you know, Carl talked a lot about that and the need for stronger Republican leaders in the region, people that really speak up for our principles and stay true and consistent to those principles in the policies that we advocate for once elected. And so I decided now is the time. Now's the time, and I didn't realize how dire it was going to be in the 2 years or so since I made the decision to go down this path. As Carl mentioned, we have right now 2 city council members that are Republicans. It's not Mark Kersey because he's not a Republican anymore, but it's Chris Cate and Scott Sherman. And so Scott Sherman's termed out. Chris Cate has 2 more years and he's termed out. My friend Noli, who's running for District 7, has a real tough race, and I hope he can pull it off. But that's going to be a tough race. So if I win, I will be likely one of 2 Republicans on the city council, with a mayor that's a Democrat, a city attorney that's a Democrat, and 7 other city council members that are Democrats. And when Chris Cate is out of office in 2 years, that's going to be a tough seat to keep as well. If I win, and I plan to win, I may be the lone Republican on the city council in 2 years. And I'm inspired by what I saw Carl achieve when he was on the city council. He was in the significant minority, and because of strong leadership and consistent advocacy for our principles, we were able to pick up seats as Republicans on the city council. Now, again, we've lost a lot of that ground, but I think there's a lot that we can accomplish once I'm elected. And so I look forward to that. You know, you heard about my background. I've talked to you all before, and most of you have probably been in those meetings, so I won't belabor my background, but I will talk about a few things I want to focus on now, and really what's at stake for our region and what's at stake for our District 5. You know, I want to focus obviously with COVID on trying to get our businesses back to work and people back to work as safely as possible. You know, we see, and it's very much a county driven issue, statewide and county driven issue, but there are still things we could do at the local city level that really help bring more business back to San Diego, more tourism dollars, for example. And I'm very focused on how we can do that in a safe and effective way to not only get people back to work, get businesses back in operation, but also, frankly, help increase our tax base again. Our budget's going to be decimated from a loss of sales tax and TOT. And that's going to impact things like our police department, our fire department, our parks, libraries, community centers. So the sooner we can get people back to work, people back to spending money where they have a sales tax, the better for our fundamental city services that I think should be our priority. Schools, you know, I'm the only candidate who's actually proposed a policy that would help our schools safely reopen for parents who want that choice. It involved using some of the federal dollars that the city had for our K through 12 public schools so that they could afford sanitation, social distancing, testing, those sorts of things. To me, I don't want the school districts to use money as an excuse for not opening when it's so important for so many parents, important for many of those parents, not only for their child's education, but also for their own opportunity to work and go back to work effectively. Roads, key priority of mine is to make sure we invest our tax dollars in roads and not in mass transit and bike lanes. My opponent is quite the opposite. She has said to the Union Tribune during her interview in the primary, she thinks we should make it harder for people to drive, so they're forced into mass transit. She and I couldn't be more opposite on where we think our tax dollars should go when it comes to basic infrastructure needs like roads. So again, I plan to continue to advocate for the improvement of our roads throughout District 5. And then one that I talked about in the primary that has become obviously much more of a national dialogue is law enforcement. I think both my opponent and I support our fire department. However, I also support our police department. And my opponent is supported by multiple organizations that want to defund our police department. And, our police, especially our San Diego Police Department, do an excellent job. And we are consistently ranked as America's safest large city. And it's because of our men and women that are out there literally putting their lives on the line every day. And again, my opponent is backed by extreme groups that don't appreciate what our men and women in blue are doing every day. And so I think there's a very stark contrast between me and my opponent when it comes to defending and protecting and supporting our police department. So those are a few of the issues. I know we're running a little bit late, so I'll keep it short today. What I will say though, and I'll echo what Carolyn said earlier, anybody that has the ability to support the campaign financially, I certainly appreciate that. We need to get our message out to voters. To be frank, one of the disheartening things is I've been going door to door, and I've been very well received actually with a mask, safely door to door, standing 10 feet back. So for the most part, well received. But I'm surprised. I'll go to houses where it's a solid Republican household. All the registered voters are all Republicans, and I'll nearly have the door slammed in my face. They don't want to talk to me. They don't, and not because of COVID. They just open the door and they say, I'm not interested in talking about campaigns or politics. And they're not the engaged folks like all of you are, and that's tough. It's tough for us to kind of claw our way back when we have people that aren't even willing to spend 2 minutes with a candidate of the same party at their door. And so we still need to reach those people. We need to educate those people, and unfortunately that takes money. So again, if you're able to, that's wonderful. But hopefully all of you would be able to have a yard sign like Carolyn has. And if you are, I would encourage you also to reach out through my website. And my website is joe4sandiego.com. And if you go to the contact page, you can submit your name and indicate that yes, you are willing to have a yard sign.
Thank you very much, Joe.
Oh dear. I am sorry this has happened twice. We've been having problems since before our meeting started. So Joe, are you back? I think he's sort of back. So he deserves this seat, and frankly, we deserve to have you for our representative on City Council. We need our conservative principles and values back. Our last but very important candidate for City San Diego County Superior Court seat 30 is Paul Starita, who serves our county and country as an assistant United States attorney and United States Marine Judge Advocate. He has served as an assistant United States attorney in San Diego for over 16 years. As a federal prosecutor, he investigated and prosecuted felony cases including drug trafficking, organized crime, corruption, and violent crime. Presently a civil trial attorney, Paul defends the United States in tort and employment matters and prosecutes civil health care and procurement fraud cases. Now, as a Marine colonel, Paul now serves as an appellate judge on the Navy Marine Corps Court of Criminal Appeals. Thank you so much for coming, Paul. I'm sorry we've had so many issues.
That's quite all right, Carolyn. Thank you, Dawn. It's great to be here. Thank you, everyone, for having me. I'd also like to thank Carl for the shout out when he was speaking. Best of luck to Joe. I know Joe personally, and he's a fantastic man and father and lawyer, and I'm sure he will be an awesome leader for the city of San Diego. Why am I running for San Diego County Superior Court? For me, public service is a calling. I have been in public service almost my entire life. And, you know, some people might think people work in government because it's a guaranteed paycheck, but that's not me. I'm a first generation Italian. I grew up, learning from my dad just how great our country is compared to where he grew up in Europe. And, my mother and her family, they're from Ireland, and well, my mother's not from Ireland, but her family is from Ireland. And, just how important, the United States is to them. And I think that's the way I found myself into the Marine Corps. And certainly that's the reason why I've stayed in public service. I spent a brief stint with a law firm after my active duty time, and actually tried cases in San Diego Superior Courts for about 2 years in Orange County, LA County, and San Diego County. So I'm very familiar with the San Diego County Superior Court system. As a federal prosecutor, I'm certainly well aware of the issues that we have as a border city, and as a border county. So it's an interesting time to be running to be a Superior Court judge. It's a countywide race, so I truly need all of your support. This is one of those things where, judge, people don't really think about a judge. I joke that it's right above dog catcher on the priority list, but it really is an important race. Think about it. Most people, will vote or select a president partially, at least, because of who they may or may not put on the district courts, the courts of appeal, and the Supreme Court. Here, you have an opportunity to select your own local judge, your own county judge. There are about 133 Superior Court judges now, and there are 7 vacancies. So 3 of those have already been selected. The governor will fill the other voids, and I'm clearly not someone who's going to be appointed by the governor. So if you're interested in having a well-qualified candidate represent your interests, and when I say your interests, I mean everyone in the county. Judges are not supposed to be politicians. I'm clearly not a politician. I've never run for office before. But what's important is you're going to have someone who has the experience. I've been a judge before. I was a military judge. The system is almost exactly the same as you find in our state system, in our federal system. The rules of evidence, rules of procedure. I've sentenced people. I've presided over jury trials. It's essentially all the same. Many people may want to be a judge, but having been a judge, I know what it takes. You have to have not only the intellect, but you have to have the drive. Our court system after this pandemic is going to be behind. There's going to be no early days getting out, going to play golf or going to the beach or whatever. There's going to be some long, hard hours. And so you're going to need someone with fortitude like myself that's going to get the job done. Our cases through the system, and also enable us to move forward as a county.
Donner messing this
up. So I'm running again, because I believe in our county. My wife and I have raised our 2 children here. Public service is a calling for me, and I can think of no better way to serve our county than with my background and experience than as a Superior Court judge. As I mentioned, as an AUSA, I've worked both in the criminal and civil division. I've dealt with all types of corruption cases, drug cases, violent crime cases. On the civil side, the United States has always been so many different types of lawsuits. So, and again, private practice. This experience has been a humbling experience as well. I feel so fortunate to have the support that I have from local practitioners, across the spectrum, from many different, ideologies and political backgrounds. And I think that demonstrates how qualified I am. My endorsements, really speak for themselves. I have, maybe with the exception of one organization, all the law enforcement endorsements you can possibly imagine. And the most, the crown jewel being, the deputy sheriffs and the San Diego Police Department, as well as the DAs. Those are three top, and that's not to marginalize, the other ones. They're all important. Your local law enforcement do a really incredible job. They don't get credit for a lot that they do that's unseen and unsung. But we all know that they're important and that they deserve praise. Clearly this is a difficult time for them. I have over 20 judges that are supporting me, which I'm deeply honored by, and we keep getting more every week. I think now that that we're getting close to election, a lot of the judges are jumping on board, realizing, hey, I really want Paul as my peer, and he can really move the court forward. And there's Diane Jacobs and Jim Desmond are supporting me, and I greatly appreciate that. In the end, I'm here to serve. Clearly not a politician. I'm going to follow the law, and I'm going to work tirelessly for the people of our county. I have a website. My website is www.starita, STARITA, 4FOR Judge, JUDGE.com. Obviously, being in public service, I did not get wealthy, so I certainly need all of the support that I can get financially, and as well as across the county. I mean, you all have friends in your social network. Please get my name out there. I would very much appreciate it. And if you're able to assist financially, I would appreciate you going to the website and making a contribution to the campaign. Also, if you'd like a yard sign, we'll deliver. Just go to the email section where you can sign up, and that email will come to me, and we will get yard signs out to you. Name recognition is key. I talked to the registrar of voters personally at the very beginning, and Mr. Vu told me, hey, Paul, when it comes to judges, get your name out there. So we have, invested in signs. We certainly would be honored to put one in your yard. So thank you again. I'm happy to answer any questions if you have them.
Any questions? I guess there's no questions.
All right. Well, thank you all very much. Stay healthy out there, and please, please support me, and please get the word out there to your networks. I appreciate it. Thank you again.
We need to have our courts back to conservative principles. So please do support Paul Starita. He's just great. His bio is in your flyer that you received. So thank you, Paul.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. Take care, everyone.
God bless you. And okay, so happy that Dr. Win Chen is with us today. Dr. Chen, you want to show your picture? There she is. She's going to be speaking to us next month. She came from China. Do you want to say a few words, just a few?
Yes, I'm so excited to be here today. I came from China 26 years ago, and I'm a Chinese American here. And because of my personal experience of being brainwashed there, so I know very much how the Communist Party works. And I look forward to speak to all of you about the infiltration of the Chinese Communist Party to the United States, to California, to the world.
Thank you, Dr. Chen. She's up in Pasadena. Everyone, I'm so sorry I had to cut the great bios down because of time, and we've had some little issues, but I think you have a good idea of the character and quality of our great candidates, and I know you read all the bios on your flyer received. Every one of our speakers worked so hard to make San Diego a better place and bring it back to our conservative values and principles. I thank you all so much. And now I'll turn the meeting back to our great president, Earl Chen.
Thank you, Carolyn. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for attending our meeting today. We hope you've been enlightened by our speakers. We hope you enjoyed spending the time with us today. Thanks to the members of our board of directors for their efforts in planning and in creating our virtual meeting. I also want to make a special thank you to Blair Lawson, Don Spencer, and Dave Piontek for their hosting of the meeting. It was a very difficult day today, and hopefully by next month we'll be much smoother. Thank you, Carolyn, for arranging for the speakers today and for making arrangements for them to be with us and give their presentations. And a very special thank you to our speakers, Carl DeMaio, Ruth Weiss, June Cutter, Leventhal, and Paul Starita. Guests, we hope you will join us at our next meeting. A flyer will be sent out with all of our members and to those guests attending today's meeting. If you are not a member of COGG, you are invited to join us. A membership application will be sent to you within 2 weeks. Please check out our website, COGGRB.com, for further information. Thank you, and God bless all of you, and we will look forward to seeing you at our next meeting. This meeting is adjourned.
Barbara, hi Barbara. I'm so glad you got